Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your Thanksgiving week Tuesday? Hope you're having a good one, and we got a great one planned for you today. Today I'm going to tell you about Basil Rathbone. Yes, you'll see why I'm talking this way in just a little while. The regular stuff, like, share, subscribe, notification bell, retweet, all those good things that are free to you, the home viewer, but help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-seeing, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. And we have super chats and memberships. We do have a monetary goal every night because who'd pay for this? So it's any amount of money, any amount, any. And also turn on your gifted memberships. There may be a few hanging around here from yesterday, but I don't really know how that works. I don't know whether they expire after 24 hours. Nobody tells me. So anyway, what do we got? The usual stuff. We got plenty of great things coming up. You guys tell me if you want a Thanksgiving show or not. I'll do one. I'm just that crazy. I mean, I don't care. One Thanksgiving show, I'll grunt out a Thanksgiving show for you. What do I care? Coming up, we got to mark this one off. Basil Rathbone's tonight. We will be doing a show on well-known woman from the island of Lesbos and marijuana reformer and general rabble-rouser Gertrude Stein. We may also have to cover her girlfriend, Alice B. Toklas. I don't know. We'll see. Terry Garr, Section 230, Dan Rather, The Fairness Doctrine, Popped the Balloon, Stockholm Syndrome, Joy Buzzer, Wonder Bra, Texas Roadhouse. I still have to check with that adult film star that's a friend of mine and finalize that. And, of course, Nicholas Rowe, whose story of being a POW in Vietnam is freaking incredible. Let's see. We also have Metal Maiden Vicky from Sonic Asylum Radios and Metal Maiden Vicky's Sonic Asylum coming up. Ed Robertson will be with us here on December the 13th, and then I think the following week as well, because he's got 2 books out right now. One of them has a very long introduction quote from, anyway, and then Cass Haley. I got to finalize his thing too. I just haven't called these people because I'm lazy. Let's see here, and I think that's it. I think that's all the things to cover. Yep, looks like it. But if you want a Thanksgiving show, we'll do a Thanksgiving show. We got no problem doing a Thanksgiving show. We've done Thanksgiving shows before. We may do them again. I wasn't going to do one, because why? But we may. Hey, our good friend SG Fanboy has outdone himself. Now, I'm going to show this later in the show, but this would be Basil Rathbone. You know him as the best and the original Sherlock Holmes. But SG Fanboy has managed to beguile us yet again with, there's the Tom Gully, Basil Rathbone. It may be my new favorite. Hard to say. Hard to say. I'll let you guys decide. I'll let you folks decide. I got a couple more minutes here before we'll get into this whole thing. I'll terrify you with the Scarlet Witch, Tom Gully, which in full screen is just almost impossible to look at or look away from. Which brings me to, I spend a lot of time, not a lot of time, I work during the day here from home, and so there's some channels that have live shows that I spend time. And recently, one of the ones I really enjoy being around has had, and I'm not just, this is not a generalization, it's just a factual reflection of what I've experienced in this one isolated incident. There's some ladies on this particular channel that, man, they come in and they're just talking over everybody. Just, I'm the show, I'm the diva, and I'm a gentleman. It's just very little I can actually do about it. You know, I could treat them like a guy, but they don't want that, you know. And so, with all that in mind, I remembered a meeting I was having with, I was working on the Hoosier Lottery, and I did TV commercial, not important what it was about, although it was about actual millionaires that I interviewed, and they're funny commercials and whatever. So we watched the commercial. There's the director of the lottery, and then there's his assistant woman who actually had worked for our agency and then went to work for the lottery. So I've known her for a long time. It's just creative kryptonite. Couldn't get a creative idea to save her life. If I showed you these commercials, and I could show you because some of them are on YouTube, you'd think it was wonderful. She saw it, and she's actually said this in a meeting in front of grown adults. She said, I don't know if it's too real or not real enough. At which point the director of the lottery said, shut the F up, Joe. And see, I'm not saying this is like a male-female thing. I'm saying it's like a informed person, just idiot person thing. And there's not enough of that in this world we live in today. There's my message for today's show. Apparently Rumpled really likes it is really amazing, isn't it? And I don't know where he gets these pictures, because you guys never get to see me with my thing that I got. It's just like I got hit right there with a board, taking some boards out of this chick's dad's barn for him, because he was even older than me, although not older enough than me for me to feel comfortable. But anyway, he gets all these ones without the thing there. So I don't know how he does that. I absolutely don't know how he does that. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so the podcast is afoot. Quick, Watson. Terry Nee says, feelings has ruined everything. Yeah, Terry, I agree with you. Feelings. Whoa, 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 feelings. My feelings of love. Feelings. The Doopa Doopa Doo is here. People saying hi. The most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. Always good to see Doopa. She brings the good juju in here, the good energy. She does. What's she else she got? Creative kryptonite. Oh, yeah. She'd just walk into a room. 15 people could agree on the best take for like this guy to deliver a comedic line in a commercial. And by the way, you only have to have one or two funny lines in a commercial. They don't have to be that funny. They just have to be. But if you wreck both of them, Rumple Trenchcoat says, every once in a while a person needs to hear STFU for their own good. God knows I do. There's a great poem by Charles Bukowski that says, the problem with this country is our cities have never been burned and our women have never been told to shut the hell up. And I wouldn't say women. I would just say, because I'm very bigoted toward people that are stupid. I have to say that. I'm not a fan. People saying hi. People saying hi. Dupa says, I bring feelings. She brings the good juju, good energy. Dupa, people saying hi. These pretzels are salty. Have you guys ever heard the blooper soap commercial? I'm tempted to find it. By God. I'm gonna find it. You double dog dared me. I'm gonna play you the. Well, I don't think I can get in trouble for this. I think it's just an old thing. I don't think anybody owns it. Let me see if I can find it. If I can't find it right away, we're not doing it. Yeah, see, I'll do the rest of the line. Let me see if this will find it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. I'm not going to be able to find it. Anyway, it's a radio commercial where the people that are producing the commercial keep getting this guy to try to keep doing different inflections to make it sound better. And by the end of the thing, he's just screaming every line at top. Blooper soap is real good. We like that. We like that. Can you make the soap pop out? Is this soap? Blooper soap is real good. And then could you make blooper soap? And by the end of the, it would be better if I had the thing. I don't know why I try to go off script here. It's always a friggin' disaster. Let's see. What do we got here? I got to go through some of these. Terry. Look at you dancing in your stilettos. Look at that. Doc Torn. People saying hi. The great Jim Fanning is with us. Jim, thanks for being here. Always good to see you. Are they Sturgis pretzels? People saying hi. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Jim Fanning, I know these pretzels are making me thirsty. People saying hi. People laughing at people. Corey Stump says, I haven't listened to this radio station since Mad Brad. R.I.P., brother. Miss you a lot. Oh, yeah. I hear you. You're talking about Mad Brad from Sonic Asylum, I'm assuming. Gone but not forgotten. Doctor says, Terry Nee, too. Now it's a party. They're close. They're close to Sturgis pretzels. I don't even know what Sturgis pretzels are, to be honest with you. I better open up my thing. Let's get into this Basil Rathbone. I don't know if you guys are a fan of the Sherlock Holmes. I know there was that show Elementary, and I know, was it Robert Downey Jr. might have done one? Those are all posers. Those are all pretenders. The real deal, the real Sherlock Holmes is Basil Rathbone, and his voice was known throughout the world for being very the way it was. So let's just get old Basil up there, finish up some of these. Yes, you're talking about him. Yes. What is it? It's Pennsylvania. I don't know. Was there a silent Sherlock Holmes? I don't know. I hope not. One of the very best things about Basil Rathbone was, of course, his voice. Quick, Watson. All right, let's get into Basil. Because there's a lot of stuff about this guy that you might not know watching those old movies. And maybe you didn't watch the old movies, but if you didn't, you should. Philip St. John Basil Rathbone was an Anglo-South African actor. Yes, I bet you didn't know that the finest voice in the history of the British stage was actually from South Africa. Yes, he rose to prominence in the United Kingdom as a Shakespearean stage actor and went on to appear in more than 70 films, primarily costume dramas, swashbucklers, and occasionally horror films. He frequently portrayed suave villains or morally ambiguous characters such as Mr. Murdstone in David Copperfield, Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet, Sir Guy of Glasburn in The Adventures of Robin Hood. His most famous role, however, was that of Sherlock Holmes in 14 Hollywood films made between 1939 and 1946. And, of course, a radio series. Yes. Rathbone's later career included roles on Broadway as well as self-ironic film and television work. In 1948, he shared the Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play with two others. He was also nominated for 2 Academy Awards and honored with not 1, not 2, but 3 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Well then, of course, yes. Yes. I'd like to mention very quickly, however, and we'll probably get to it, but I don't want to forget it. He had a military career. He served in World War I, rising to the rank of captain in the London Scottish Regiment and the Liverpool Scottish Regiment. He received the Military Cross, rising to the rank of captain, yes. So Rathbone was born in 1892 in Johannesburg, South Africa, to British parents. His mother, Anna Barbara, was a violinist, and his father, Edgar Philip Rathbone, was a mining engineer and member of the Liverpool Rathbone family. He had 2 older half-brothers, Harold and Horace, as well as 2 younger siblings, Beatrice and John. None of this is important, however. They fled to Britain when Basil was 3 years old after his father was accused by the Boers in South Africa of being a spy following the Jameson raid. Yes, you recall that. Well, I'm sure. He attended the Repton School in Derbyshire from 1906 to 1910, where he excelled in sports and was given the name Ratters by schoolmates. Ratters. Thereafter, he was briefly employed as an insurance clerk by the Liverpool and Globe insurance companies to appease his father's wish for him to have a conventional career. On the 22nd of April, 1911, Rathbone made his first appearance on the stage at the Theatre Royal, Ipswich, Suffolk, as Hortensio in The Taming of the Shrew, with his cousin Sir Frank Benson's No. 2 Company under the direction of Henry Herbert. Yes. In October 1912, he went to the United States with Benson's company, playing such roles as Paris in Romeo and Juliet, Fenton in The Merry Wives of Windsor, and Silvius is an As You Like It. Returning to Britain, he made his first appearance in London at the Savoy Theatre on the 9th of July, 1914, as Finch in the Sin of... You guys don't care about this. Did a lot of Shakespeare. His military career, World War II was no joke. Okay? Now, in his regiment, the London Scottish Regiment, were future actors Claude Rains, who's probably most famous for being the Invisible Man, but he played a ton of roles. You may also know him from Casablanca. At the end, when Bogart says, "Louis, this looks like the beginning of a beautiful friendship," he's saying it to Claude Rains, who plays the inspector in that film. Also, Ronald Colman, who was an Academy Award-winning actor, he was also in the same regiment. Anyway, he served as an intelligence officer, became captain, was a two-time British Army fencing champion, a skill that served him well in popular motion pictures, and it allowed him to teach swordsmanship to fellow actors Errol Flynn and Tyrone Power. Rathbone, let me get another picture. Good old Basil. Let's get a more casual shot of Basil here. There he is. Just a more informal moment there with a little bit of facial hair and his hair not completely combed properly. He was very deeply affected by the news of his younger brother, John, who was a captain in the Dorsetshire Regiment, and he was killed in action in June of 1918. So a couple of the letters that he wrote to his family while he was serving in the army were released over 100 years later. And one of them reveals the anguish and anger he felt following the death of John. "I want to tell him to mind his place. I think of this ridiculous belief that everything would always be well as ever a hopeful smile, and I want to cuff him for a little fool. He had no business to let it happen, and it maddens me that I shall never be able to tell him so, or change it, or bring him back. I can't think of him without being consumed with anger at him for being dead and beyond anything I can do to him." Following his brother's death, Rathbone appears to have become completely unconcerned about the dangers of serving at the front. He would do outrageously dangerous but perceived as amazingly brave things. One author speculates that his bravery may have been a form of guilt or need for vengeance. He persuaded his superiors to allow him to scout enemy positions during daylight rather than at night, and which they didn't normally do because they wanted to hide. Because if you were a spy, they just can't, So Rathbone wore a special camouflage suit that resembled a tree with a wreath of freshly plucked foliage on his head and a burnt cork applied to his face and hands. Yes. As a result of these highly dangerous daylight reconnaissance missions in September of 1918, he was awarded the Military Cross for conspicuous daring and resource on patrol. Now, then the war's over, so he gets to go to the summer festival of 1919. And he appeared at Stratford-upon-Avon with the New Shakespeare Company, playing Romeo, Cassius, Ferdinand in The Tempest. And I won't go into all these roles. If you know about Shakespeare, you know he's playing major Shakespearean roles, and he's doing it on stages that the average actor would never get to perform on, and he's performing on all of them. He's just that brilliant. During the 1920s, Rathbone appeared regularly in Shakespearean and other roles on the British stage. He began to travel and appeared at the Court Theatre in New York in October of 1923 in a production of Monod's play The Swan, opposite Eva Le Gallienne, which made him a star on Broadway. He toured the United States in 1925, appearing in San Francisco in May at the Lyceum Theater, New York in October. He was in the U.S. again in 1927 and 1930, and again in 1931. He appeared on stage with Ethel Barrymore. He continued his stage career in Britain, returning in late 1934 to the U.S., where he appeared with Catherine Cornell in several plays. One of those plays is The Barretts of Wimpole Street. And here he is in The Barretts of Wimpole Street. Nice mutton chops. Hey, awesome chops, man. All right. And now, Rathbone was once, oh, by the way, Cobra Kai. Rathbone was once arrested in 1926. Cobra Kai. He was arrested in 1926 along with each and every single member of the cast of The Captive, a play in which his character's wife left him for another woman. That's why they got arrested. That kind of thing simply wasn't cricket back in 1926. Although the charges were eventually dropped, Rathbone was very angry about the censorship because he believed that homosexuality needed to be brought out into the open. So he began his film career actually way back there in 1921 in silent movies, and he appeared in many silent movies. He portrayed Detective Philo Vance in the 1930 film The Bishop Murder Case. Philo Vance was a huge radio hit as a character, so playing that role was big news. In the film, there's a coincidental reference to none other than Sherlock Holmes, the role that would make him most famous, although he was extremely famous before he began playing Sherlock Holmes in movies. Like George Sanders and Vincent Price, who preceded him, Rathbone made a name for himself in the 30s by playing suave villains in costume dramas and swashbucklers like David Copperfield, Anna Karenina, The Last Days of Pompeii, Captain Blood, A Tale of Two Cities, The Adventures of Robin Hood, The Adventures of Marco Polo, The Mark of Zorro, great movie, The Tower of London, Son of Frankenstein, portraying the dedicated surgeon Baron Wolf von Frankenstein, son of the monster's creator, and also the narrator for The Wind in the Willows and the Disney animated feature The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Now, here he is in a film with, this is actually Drew Barrymore's grandfather. Basil Rathbone is on the right, and Drew Barrymore's grandfather is on the left. And that was Romeo and Juliet, and an example of these big costume swashbucklers where he would play these, yes, well, tie him to the, yeah, you know, he's that guy. He was universally recognized and admired for his very athletic swordsmanship. And he said fencing was one of his favorite things to do. His character lost to Errol Flynn twice in a duel on the beach in Captain Blood, and an elaborate fight sequence in Adventures of Robin Hood. If you've never seen the original Adventures of Robin Hood, go back and watch it. If you don't like the movie, fine, but watch that sword fight. It goes on and on and on and on. He was also involved in noteworthy sword fights in Tower of London, Mark of Zorro, The Court Jester. He earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for his performance in Romeo and Juliet, which you see on the screen before you, and as King Louis XI in If I Were King, just 2 years later. In The Dawn Patrol, he played one of his few heroic roles in the 1930s as an RFC, that's the British Air Force, squadron commander brought to the brink of a nervous breakdown by the strain and guilt of sending his battle-weary pilots to near certain death in the skies of 1915 France. Errol Flynn, Rathbone's perennial foe, starred in the film as his successor when Rathbone's character is promoted. According to Hollywood legend, hey, And if there's one thing I love, it's Hollywood legend. Basil Rathbone was Margaret Mitchell's choice. Margaret Mitchell was the author of the novel Gone with the Wind. He was her first choice to play Rhett Butler in the film version of Gone with the Wind, and he actively campaigned for the role, but in the end, David O. Selznick chose to go with Clark Gable. Despite his film success, his great film success, he insisted that he wished to be remembered for his stage career. That's what was really important to him, was performing on the stage, because Basil Rathbone was an actor. He was not a movie star. He was an actor. Anyway, let's talk about his most famous role, and that is as Tom Gully Sherlock Holmes. No, of course it wasn't. Thanks, SG Fanboy, the living legend. He was the most famous for his portrayal of Sherlock Holmes. In a radio interview, he recalled that 20th Century Fox producer and director Gene Markey, having lunch with producer-director-actor Gregory Radoff and 20th Century big shot Daryl Zanuck, proposed a film version of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And when asked who could possibly play Holmes, Markey was like stunned. He's like, who? Basil Rathbone. He's the guy. He is Sherlock Holmes. The film was so successful that Fox produced a sequel that appeared later the same year. Interest in Sherlock Holmes cooled at Fox, but Universal Pictures picked up the character and produced 12 Sherlock Holmes features from 1942 to 1946. He's doing 3 movies a year, and each of them starred Basil Rathbone as Watson. Come here, quickly. I can see by this glove that it's a person that does a lot of typing. That guy. With Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson, who was the sort of, Holmes, I don't see possible you can do that. She would have had to jump right off the roof. And well, elementary, my dear Watson. He took the stairs. That kind of thing. The first 2 films, Hound of the Baskervilles and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, both produced by Fox in that amazing Hollywood year of 1939, with Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz and this stuff and Citizen Kane, all that stuff. And those movies were set in late Victorian times, which would be accurate to the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle novels, which the novels weren't really novels. Those were serialized in the newspaper, these stories. So they would appear over a matter of weeks and months, and people voraciously read the Sherlock Holmes stories, wanting to see what happened next. And then they eventually put them into larger, you can read it as a book type things. The later installments, the ones produced by Universal, those 12 additional movies, beginning with Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror, were set in contemporary times. They were set in 1942, which was really weird, because we all know Sherlock Holmes as an opium-smoking, violin-playing, crime-solving guy back in the 1880s, 1890s. But they were in contemporary times, and they were all about World War II. He was always solving a plot for the Nazi horde to do something to us. At the same time he was doing the films, Rathbone and Bruce did their characters in a radio series called The New Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which began in 1939. Rathbone appeared in the radio series as long as the film series was active, but after the films lapsed in 1946, Rathbone said, I don't want to do this anymore, and another guy got the role and kept the series going. Conway and Bruce, Tom Conway, the guy that replaced Basil Rathbone, carried on with the series for 2 seasons until both of them said that's enough in 1947. The many Holmes sequels retypecasts Rathbone, and he was unable to free himself from the shadow of the great detective despite appearing in other film roles. And he resented this a lot, which most actors do. You don't want to be typecast. William Shatner, for years, couldn't get away from Captain Kirk, and resented it. Rathbone refused to renew his contract at MGM and returned to Broadway. In later years, Rathbone softened a lot on this whole thing and willingly made the Holmes Association, as in a TV sketch with Milton Berle in the early 50s, in which he donned the deerstalker cap and the Inverness cape and the whole 9 yards. In the 60s, dressed as Sherlock Holmes, he appeared in a series of TV commercials for Getz Exterminators, of all things. Getz 'em since 1888. Rathbone brought Holmes to the stage in a play that was written by none other than his wife. Thomas Gomez, who had appeared as a Nazi ringleader in Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror, played the villainous Professor Moriarty. Incidentally, in those series that I mentioned that were serialized in the newspapers back in the old days, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle did something absolutely unthinkable. He killed Sherlock Holmes. Moriarty pushed him off of a freaking waterfall or cliff or something. And England went berserk nuts. So he figured out a way to bring its fiction. He brought him back. But anyway, Nigel Bruce was slated to portray Dr. Watson once more, but became too ill, and the part was played by a character actor named Jack Rain. Bruce's absence depressed Rathbone, particularly after Bruce died on the 8th of October, 1953, while the play was in rehearsals, and it ran only 3 performances. In his later career, he appeared in 2 spoofs of his earlier swashbuckling villains, Casanova's Big Night opposite Bob Hope, and The Court Jester with Danny Kaye. He appeared frequently on TV game shows and continued to appear in major films, including the Humphrey Bogart comedy We're No Angels and John Ford's political drama The Last Hurrah. Rathbone was also appearing on Broadway a lot during that time period. He shared that Tony Award for Best Actor in a Play again, and he appeared with Henry Fonda and Mr. Roberts and a lot of other stuff on stage. Through the 50s and 60s, he continued to appear in several dignified anthology programs on television to support his second wife's lavish tastes. He appeared as a panelist on television game shows The Name's the Same and took roles in cheap film thrillers of far less quality, such as The Black Sheep, Queen of Blood, The Ghost, and The Invisible Bikini. Yeah. One of the characters in that one went, that guy looks like Sherlock Holmes. Hillbillies in a Haunted House, which also featured Lon Chaney Jr. and John Carradine, and his last film, a low-budget horror called Autopsy of a Ghost. He's also known, and our family had a bunch of these, for his spoken word recordings, including his interpretation of The Night Before Christmas. Rathbone's reading of the stories and poems of Edgar Allan Poe are collected together with readings by Vincent Price in the Edgar Allan Poe audio collection. He revisited Sherlock Holmes in 4 albums and basically just read the stories of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And he changes his voice. So he was kind of like the first book on tape, or the first audio book. He changed his voice and did all the characters, including a rendition of Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson. Now, he made many other recordings, Oliver Twist, Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. On television, he appeared in 2 musical versions of A Christmas Carol. He also appeared in the live-action version of The Stingiest Man in Town, which was just another take on Ebenezer Scrooge. He toured in several one-man shows where he did everything. He recited poetry, did Shakespearean soliloquies, and talked about his life and career, and includes the humorous line, I could have killed Errol Flynn any time I wanted to, which was the truth. He was a much better swordsman. As an encore, he recited 221B, a poem written by a writer and critic, but referring to 221B, Baker Street, the legendary home address of Sherlock Holmes. Vincent Price and Basil Rathbone appeared together along with Boris Karloff in The Tower of London and Comedy of Terrors. The last film was the only film to feature what we called the Big Four of American International Pictures horror films: Vincent Price, Basil Rathbone, Boris Karloff, and Peter Lorre. He appeared with Vincent Price in the final segment of Roger Corman's 1962 anthology, Tales of Terror. In 1965, Belmont Books issued the anthology Basil Rathbone Selects Strange Tales, a collection of horror stories by Edgar Allan Poe and other people. He has not one, not two, but 3 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for films, one for radio, one for television. He married actress Ethel Marion Foreman. In 1914, they had one son, Rodion Rathbone. God, what a great name. Hello, I'm Rodion Rathbone. And he had a brief Hollywood career under the name John Rodion. That couple divorced in 1926, 12 years later. In the same year, he married writer Ouida Berger. And their first infant child died in 1928. In 1939, the couple adopted a daughter, Cynthia Rathbone. The American actor Jackson Rathbone is a distant relation. He bore a strong resemblance to his cousin, the actor Frank Benson. You all remember him, don't you? Yes, well. And he was the first cousin once removed of the British campaigning independent MP Eleanor Rathbone. During his Hollywood career, Ouida Rathbone, who was also her husband's business manager, developed a reputation for hosting elaborate and expensive parties in their home with many prominent and influential people on guest lists. This trend inspired a joke in The Ghost Breakers, film in which Rathbone does not appear. During a tremendous thunderstorm in New York City, Bob Hope observed that Basil Rathbone must be throwing a party. Actress Mrs. Patrick Campbell described Rathbone as 2 profiles pasted together. In other words, his face had such a great profile that they were. As cited in the same autobiography, Mrs. Campbell later referred to him as a folded umbrella taking elocution lessons. Well, yes, I see. He was a devout Episcopalian and a member of the Episcopal Actors Guild. Rathbone died suddenly of a heart attack in New York City on the 21st of July, 1967, at the age of 75. His body was interred at a crypt in the Shrine of Memories Mausoleum at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. Yes. Now, I just want to point out one thing about his film career, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing because there are so many, and he was nominated for so many things. However, there came a point in time in 1942 where he just cranked out Sherlock Holmes movies. I mean, Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror, Sherlock Holmes, and these were all like World War II. Like they brought Sherlock Holmes out of the 1800s into World War II to solve Nazi war plots. And it was Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon, Sherlock Holmes in Washington, Sherlock Holmes Faces Death, Crazy House, The Spider Woman, Bathing Beauty, The Pearl of Death, The Scarlet Claw, The House of Fear, The Woman in Green, Pursuit to Algiers, Terror by Night, and the last one, of course, entitled Dressed to Kill. So there you go. He's really great in a wonderful Bob Hope picture called Casanova's Big Night. So see him in that too. Basil Rathbone is just great. Many radio appearances. There was a show, I've talked about it on this program before, called Lux Radio Theater. Lux Presents Hollywood. And what that was back in those days, instead of like now where most people live in a city and not as many people live in the country, most of the people in the United States lived in the country. They were spread out, but they lived in the country, and fewer people lived in the cities. Well, if you lived out in the country, going to a theater might be kind of a pain in the ass. And not one near you, you got to drive a long way. And because of being in such a rural area, not all the movies that came out were going to be shown at your theater. I mean, after all, you can only show a certain number, right? So Lux Radio Theater took movies and turned them into a radio presentation. So it was a big deal. Lux Radio Theater ran for 20 or 25 years. And if you have all of them, then you can listen to these movies. He was in Captain Blood. He was in Oliver Twist. He was in The Winslow Boy. He was also in Phantom of the Opera, all on Lux Radio Theater. And then, of course, the 7 years he spent doing the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. On the stage, I'm not even going to get into it. His stage career started in 1913 and ended in 1959. He was a legendary stage performer. So, and he was in some great movies that just don't get shown anymore. Witness for the Prosecution, Julius Caesar, The Heiress. There were just too many of them to list. It's insane. So that, ladies and gentlemen, I know maybe not the most exciting. I mean, it's Basil Rathbone. Listen to his voice. Check him out in the old Sherlock Holmes movies. Nobody's ever done Sherlock Holmes better. Some of the new adaptations are very good. They're very clever, but they don't have Basil Rathbone. And that is me telling you about Basil Rathbone. Let's get to your exciting quotes, and they will be overseen by Sherlock Holmes Tom Gully. What was the line? It's this movie where a girl is climbing up on a ladder to do something, and one of the guys in there is like looking at her legs and her shape, and a guy imitates Sherlock Holmes, whose chief foil on the police was Inspector Lestrade. And funny place for an eye, Lestrade, yes. kind of. Too much information about what? What the? Does not the gratitude of the dog put to shame any man who is ungrateful to his benefactors? St. Basil, bored. You're bored, or I don't. Happy to be here, says two ultra rude dudes. H2BH on my end as well. Lucas Malago says, Percival's readings ooze evil, total unmitigated human evil. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, Watson, you fixed a point in an ever-changing age. So, Pat Silent Holmes. Oh, boy. The letter about his brother's death in the war was the most British mourning I've ever heard. Yeah, very stiff upper lip, you know. And all that rot. Hungus Mungus says, evening, Tom and crew. What did I miss so far? If I told you, then I'd have to. You know, these are recorded. You can just. It's nice to see you, Sven. Rumble Trenchcoat says, hi, Hungus. Just the early life of Basil Ratham's war and acting career. Hungus, people saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. People all over the place saying hi. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, and that way you can do something free that serves the algorithm, the almighty, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. And then also we do have super chats and memberships. You can avail yourselves of those if you'd like. We do have a monetary goal each and evening of any amount of money, but really the most important thing is that you open up those gifted memberships, you know, turn on your gifted memberships, because there may be some laying around here from yesterday. I ain't sure. I don't do the math. There's somebody else does that. I don't handle. When it comes to acting, Rathbone had the chops. Yeah, he was an actor. And I often wonder, because if you notice, I've got the violin. Sherlock Holmes played the violin. See it there? I wonder if he knew some of the moves from his mom, who was a violinist. Doopadoo says, Rumpled, please don't ever feel like you talk too much. You're awesome. No, you never talk too much, or chat too much, or do things too much that are things. Says, Doopa, thank you. Let me see something here real quick. Oh, boy. Rumpled Trenchcoat, thank you so much for the $5 to keep the Oxford Creeper at bay. Yes, the Oxford Creeper. I don't know, Holmes. The Oxford Creeper seems like he wouldn't allow us to find out its location. Yes, Holmes, unless he wanted us to go to that location. I fear it's a trap. I just do voices sometimes when Knock, knock. Who's there? Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. Hold on. You really can't do Cobra Kai when they do Cobra Kai. You got to do it right when you're in the middle of talking about something. I mean, it doesn't work unless you're talking about one subject. Then Cobra Kai comes at you really fast. Unbleached says, Tom, what do you think about comedy She-Man? Who? It's not ringing a bell. Just not ringing a bell. Hungus Mungus says, watched all them old movies when I was a kid. Love them. They're great. SG Fanboy, by the way, we've been showing it all show. There it is, the Sherlock Holmes Tom Gully. He's a living legend, that SG Fanboy, I'm telling you. Robo Trenchcoat says, hi, SG. Awesome Sherlock Gully. Yeah, I know. He's really cool. Frankly, Dorothy, I don't give a damn. Yes, frankly, Dorothy, I don't give a damn. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, please. Hungus Mungus says, back then when movies were cool, totally. Funky Broncos here says, what's up, goblins? And I'm so happy there was not a mention of being pass out drunk or stinking. Funky Bronco, I think things are looking up for you going into Thanksgiving. Very proud of your recent sobriety. Hungus Mungus says, goblins doing goblin things. Yep. Stanley Cross, Backstreet Tom. Yes, of course, just in the back streets. Speaking earlier, Stanley, of some ladies on your channel that just wade into the conversation and suddenly it's all about me. Now, interrupt me 10 times in a row. That'll make me want to try and talk at a place. No, but wait, you're not going to buy me a drink? No, you're a married woman. Why am I buying you anything? You got a husband. That's the deal. What? Do you understand the reason guys buy girls drinks? Do you? I mean, I'm a nice guy, and if there's a lifelong friend or whatever, and I'll buy around for the whole table. But buy me a drink. What? Or just, what? No, that was back when you weren't married. And it's nothing to do with me being cheap. It's just you don't deserve a drink from me for just existing. Sorry, unless it's hemlock. And if it's hemlock, I'll buy you a gallon of it. But, you know what I mean? It just got into it's cheap. No. Here's another thing I don't do. I don't pay $300 for a $20 bottle of alcohol just to look cool. I mean, I don't know about you. That's not cool to me. That's, what's the word for it? Moronic. You know? But that whole, you're not going to buy me. They just don't want to buy me. There's something wrong with them. What? There's nothing wrong with me. You're married. When you get married, that's his job forever. And I'm not going to buy a married woman a drink. That's disrespectful to the husband. That's just not, you know. And by the way, why don't you ever ask, would you buy me a dinner? Would you buy me why is it booze always? It's like, yeah, I'll buy you a hamburger or something. Throw a burger down your throat. But why is it always buy me a drink? Because you are around me or on the internet in a room I'm in. We don't know each other. There's no, you know, if you got a promotion, if it was your birthday, maybe. But if you're married, probably not. Probably not. If I was married and some dude was buying my chick a drink, I'd be, what's going on there, man? Yeah, I got her drinks covered. Okay, take your drink back. I don't know what you were trying to do. I got this covered over here. This is my scene. Go get your own. Go find your own girl. Guarantee you I won't be buying her a drink. I'll talk about that more here in a second if I can get through these chats. Robo Trenchcoat says the Reichenbach Falls. Holmes took Moriarty off with them, going over the falls. Only Holmes came back after the outcry you mentioned. Well, yeah, when they redid it. But yeah, it was the end of time. Holmes knew Moriarty was every bit his equal, and he knew that if Moriarty continued to live, he would continue to murder people and do evil things, And so he said, I will sacrifice myself. That's what he did. Hero of England. But people went, you can't kill Sherlock Holmes. So that was a huge outcry. And that was in the serialized stuff. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, by the way, huge believer in the paranormal. Gigantic believer in the paranormal. He had psychics and all the time. SG Fanboy says, thanks, Rumpled. We're No Angels was so good, wasn't it, though? Oh, God, this is a great movie. Great Humphrey Bogart comedy. Lucas Malago says, they went Brazil nuts. You're daggone right. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, as an Abbott and Costello fan, seeing Hillary Brooke as the woman in green was confusing as a kid, but she was so good at it. And the woman in green was a very, very formidable Holmes opponent, and it was almost romantic. That, you know, it's like, I'm never going to meet a woman that's my equal in the brain pan department. Tom giving me flashback after flashback. You're welcome. I'm your personal LSD. Tom, did you ever work with Basil? No. I met him once, but I've never met Basil Rathbone. And any rumors to the contrary are pure codwallop, pure poppycock. Julian Zezer is saluting right back at you. Julian, I'm happy like a pig in Rob Saul. Doctor says, not the Oxford Creeper. Jeez. Doop-a-doop-a-doo says, SG Fanboy, love my son. Stanley Crest, touche, old boy. Yes, touche. I don't know why you'd have to pop the pea. I was saving the last pea. Well, I've squashed it flat, Walt, so now you can get it rather than tammering on your plate for trying to get the last. Yes, but when you popped a pea, I'd like to feel it pop in my mouth. You ruined it. That point about conspicuous consumption is well stated, in my opinion. Well, you know, I get it. Channels like to have ladies because you want a mix of the whole, whether it's in the chat room or on, you know, the video part. But man, oh man, when somebody, I mean, I'm right in the middle of it, and it's just, I'm here, everybody. No, wait, let me tell you. You don't even know, because, yeah, I do know. I think I do know. I really, you wouldn't buy me, man, the white people cheap. Excuse me? Because I won't buy you, a married woman, a drink. Suddenly you can think whatever you want, but come on. Come on, you picked a dude from all the dudes and said me and you forever and nobody else. Well, you want me to buy your shoes and your duvet and everything? That's his job. What, he didn't send you out without enough bread to buy your own? There's more to life than pouring alcohol down your throat. Just want to tell people that. Now, it's fun. A lot of people enjoy it. But, man, get hostile about you didn't buy me. Come on, man. What are you doing for me? Go ahead. Tell me. I'd love to hear it, because your personality isn't enough. No, it's not. It might be for someone, but it's not for you. So what's in it for me? Come on. What just you exist? Is that it? I like to live in that world. SG Fanboy says, hey, Dupa. Tyranny says, should we leave? No, you have to leave. Why would you have to leave? Please. How you feeling, Fungus? Stop it. Quit calling him Fungus. Hungus, that's better. She sounds like Stuttering John. Well, both divas. Yeah, he bought me a pint. He bought me a pint, so friends forever. Oh, bought a pint. Wow. Wake the kids, phone the neighbors. You must think a lot of yourself. What, you're not going to buy me one? Well, then you're cheap. There you go. Right back at you. Hey, you want equality? Do you want me to treat you like an equal? You probably don't. You seriously probably don't. But if you do, starts over there at the cashier, honey. That's what equality is. Yeah, I said it. I always loved when Watson went berserk. Yeah, Watson's Holmes, I don't believe I've ever seen him. This says you can't possibly do that. He's drinking acid. Yeah, I've coated my stomach with a special resin, whatever. Always had a thing. If a woman's pulling that card, she's for the streets. Well, I don't know about that. Let's not go there. But no, in part, it's probably not their fault. It's probably gotten away with it for a long time. And there's probably guys that, because I never understand that. It's like, we're going VIP. Don't you mean VEP? Very empty pockets? I'm just asking. Auto incorrect. Don't worry about it. I can make the calculations for the jump to the light speed. Hey, look, I could smell what The Rock was cooking. Hungus, fungus, mungus. That is kind of funny, actually. Continue calling him that then. Rumble Trenchcoat says, true, Hungus. It was good to see a villain think they have the upper hand on Holmes only for Watson to level his army-issued revolver at him. Yeah, that big Webley that Watson had. I think it was a Webley. A big, giant elephant-killing British Army. Oh, God, yes. It was great. I think I'll unhand him right now. Unhand him at this moment. Yes, Holmes. Thank you, Watson. I knew you'd be here. I was held up by the elevator. Couldn't figure out the dial. Let's face it, Watson was kind of a stoop compared to Holmes. I mean, Holmes would ask him medical questions he wouldn't have an answer for sometimes. I really don't know. I suppose aspirin. I don't know if I should go long today and open up the phone lines or not. I kind of think I don't. And by the way, you guys better get your Thanksgiving yay or nay in here. I can do a show just about the same time as I normally do it. If you want. Totally up to you. I don't care. If I've proven anything on this show, it's that I don't care. Terry Nee with a thumbs up. And I vote nay. Doc Torn would not like a Thanksgiving show. Well, that hurts. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. That's where I'm leaning. Let's see. Rumpled says, I'm working Thanksgiving, so I hate to request a show that I might not be able to make, so I'm going to abstain. Wow, that's a good use of abstain. Right now, we're not doing one. Much to the thrill of the internet. Much to many cheers and stuff. SG Fanboy says, I'll be here. Doctor says, I'm going to be too hammered to watch. Well, a lot of people watch the show that way. Do you want me to buy you a drink? I would buy a drink, Doctor. Yeah, I don't get that. You're not doing anything for me. You just like a free drink magnet or something. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. If you want to be equals, and you're married, come on. You said all the dudes on earth, you're the one. Now, there you go. That's your conduit to drinks forever. You got a girlfriend, or it's part of a big group, or But just, and then asking somebody, what, you wouldn't, what? And I'm mindful of the fact that, people want ladies on shows, and they all go, the whole thing stops down when a girl comes in. And I get it. It's fine. So I can't really in good conscience go, let me just tell you something. You married somebody else. I don't know you from Adam. Get your own drink. You want me to just walk up to indiscriminately to random women at the place and go, you deserve a drink because you're breathing air? No, nobody does that. Nobody does that. Let me see here. Julian Caesar only votes in secret ballots. I actually respect that. Dupa says, how many people in chat can make it on Thanksgiving night? Dupa, please don't try to use logic in a streamlined question. Let me make a mess of this. I'm kidding. That's actually a much better way to put it than I did. I'm always grumpy with short man. Watson rocks. Dale Watson? Julie says, I don't think I'll be here on Thanksgiving. Voting, come on, Tom. We're all better than that. I guess. Maybe it should be a mystery. Maybe I should have a big secret I'm going to reveal, and my hair gets cut or something. Clip my fingernails, or yeah, we covered that. Well, that old clock on the wall seems to be indicating that I don't even know what shows are on anymore in the evening. Tuesday. Is this a replayables day? I don't know. It could be. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But let's just review. Basil Rathbone, the only Sherlock Holmes. The new ones are cute and they're inventive, and Lucy Liu, who doesn't like her. But, Charles Cohn says, love Basil. Basil is just a wonderful star of the stage and screen. Rumble Trenchcoat says, in honor of being hammered, maybe you can do a hammered horror day. I feel like that we should have done that I don't know what we do for Thanksgiving. I guess we could, but not everybody's going to be hammered. Is there any movies about tryptophan? No. Let's see here. Doop doop doo says Lucas. It wasn't a vote. Let's see. Robert Trenchcoat says replayables are on Thursdays and Saturdays now. They're all over the place. You are right. Yes, that's why as a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame 3 times, 1 for film, 1 for radio, and 1 for television. Or as Lorenzo Lamas used to say, Fernando Lamas used to say, television. Julian Caesar, he should have married somebody named Rosemary. Rosemary Rathbone. Yes, he was known as Ratters at the Repton School. Ratters. Oh, there's a Ratters. Fencing. He's good at fencing. And had a child named Sage. Charles Cohn said, I just found this show. Well, sometimes it falls out of my pocket, blows down the street. Somebody will find it, pick it up, return it. I'm glad you found it, though, Charles. Very glad you found us. Hope you're enjoying it. Because you'd be the only one. Rumple, do you like Hammer horror films? Who doesn't like Hammer horror films? Hungus Mungus says the old mob and gangster movies are a nice topic, just saying. There was a Columbo about poisoning wine with the CO2 canister to pop the cork. And the episode was just Columbo eating for 55 minutes. Not my favorite one. Yeah, that would be a great Columbo. He solves it in the first 3 minutes and then just drives around and golfs. A lot of people don't know Columbo could golf now. Yeah, public course. Rumpled Trenchcoat says, I do like the old Hammer films, Trooper. I like those classic movies. The Hammer, yeah. I like the American International Pictures too, but people are laughing. Charles Cohn says, Peter Cushing. Yes, of course, Peter Cushing. Very well known for the Hammer films. Of course, Christopher Lee. Bridget Pitt. Is that her name? Pitt was the last name. It's quite voluptuous. Peter Cushing was great, wasn't he? It was an island of terror, Terror Island, where they had these things that were on this island that were like, I don't know what they were like. They like a broad base of a body and then like a snorkel. And if they got you, they would suck all of the bone material out of your body. So your body would just be a... I think that was a Hammer film. Yes, of course. I just mentioned Christopher Lee. He was a fixture, some would say. Of course, yeah. Everyone knows that. Christopher Lee, yes. But yes, Charles, Christopher Lee was awesome. Christopher, there's a case to be made. He's the best Dracula ever. I'm serious. Christopher Lee was like in some of the films was like a really savage, animalistic Dracula. He didn't even speak. He just snarled and grunted and made flashcards. So, anyway. Well, kids, that's going to do it for tonight. I'm sorry. I got to go out to a club downtown and just randomly just throw money at women I've never met that I have no knowledge of, and they've never lifted a finger to improve the quality of my life. Who do you think was the worst, Holmes? Well, that's got to be Robert Downey Jr., doesn't it? That was a Holmes movie, wasn't it? Was it him or was it Will Ferrell? It's one of those two. Just terrible. Was it? I think maybe Will Ferrell. I don't know. Either one of those two. Because they were stooging it up. You don't stooge it up. You just don't stooge it up. Robert Downey Jr. nowhere near tall enough to be. I'm just saying. Let's see here. Hungus Mungus says, last modern movie which really got me was Shattered Island. It probably means Shutter Island, but that's neither here nor there. You know, that old clock on the wall says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get up on out of here. You don't have to go home, but can't stay here. So with all that in mind, I guess the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.